Hiya, Puddin'! This is Colleen from Wing Lion Creations, and you're listening to the Comic Relief Podcast.
Hey listener, welcome to the Comic Relief Podcast.
Hope you survived the experience.
The Comic Relief Podcast is an unscripted discussion about the pop culture surrounding comic books, with your hosts,
Uncanny Thomas Logue
and Mighty Michael Miranda.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to our Suicide Squad edition of the Comic Relief Podcast. I am your co-host, Michael Moreno, and with me, as always, is the other co-host guy, Thomas Logue.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest co-host with us. We have Colleen Rodriguez of Wing Lion Creations. How are you today, Colleen?
I'm doing good.
Super good or just good?
Super good.
Before we get into the how awesome this movie was, right, and we just started kind of glowing and just going back and forth about it, let's catch you guys up on the Suicide Squad from the comics. So the Suicide Squad, to me, I think is a very, very, very cool concept. I like the concept of trapped villains being used as essentially, Black Ops agents against their will.
Yeah,
right?
Basically so that the U.S. can say, we have nothing to do with it. We don't know what you're talking about.
I think that's a super cool concept. And if they don't comply, they get their head blown off by this implanted chip in their neck. But the Suicide Squad originally came out in the Silver Age of comics. So it is an old team, 1959. They first appeared in The Brave and the Bold, number 25 back in 1959. But they aren't the same Suicide Squad that they are that we all know and love now. This was originally a sort of a Dirty Dozen, kind of an army type of book. Back in those days, they had a lot of like army soldier type of
titles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this was. Rick Flag actually was in that book. Rick Flag, as we know from the movie, he actually was the leader of the Suicide Squad back in these days, which was set in World War II. Right. It wasn't until 1980 into 87, to the mid 80s, when they were brought back and kind of formed in the style that we know them now. Right. They were sort of relaunched by John Ostrander back in 1987, and were reintroduced as the Suicide Squad with created by Amanda Waller, held against their will, still led by Rick Flag. Since then, there's been a number of different volumes and iterations. I mean, this was 1987. These guys are still around. We still see new versions of the Suicide Squad constantly being cranked out. I mean, some of the more constant members that we see are like Deadshot. What are some of the other ones, Tom?
You got typically like Deadshot. Captain Boomerang is in there usually. The New 52 had King Shark, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And Harley Quinn, obviously. I don't know if Harley Quinn was pre-New 52, though.
So I do have to confess, I did not read the latest iteration of the Suicide Squad. I know you and Colleen read it up until the end of the New 52, right?
Right. And
yeah.
I just read the Rebirth just today.
I just picked mine up yesterday.
It's good. I like it.
Is Amanda Waller again putting the team together?
Yeah, and what's cool, I guess, for a lot of fans, they complained with the New 52, Amanda Waller was drawn like super skinny, super sexy.
Uh-huh.
And I guess pre-New 52, she was a bigger woman. With the Rebirth, they have her kind of like almost in the middle. She actually is fairly closely modeled to the actress who plays her in the movie.
Gotcha. So Amanda Waller is definitely one of those constants with the Suicide Squad. She is like the Professor X of the Suicide Squad, but she is just a kind of a hard ass. Yeah. This isn't the first time we've seen the Suicide Squad, outside of comics, though. They did have a version of the Suicide Squad in the Arrow with Amanda Waller and the head and the implant, the exploding implants, all that stuff.
They had Deadshot. You see the back of Harley Quinn's head.
They teased her, just that silhouette.
That's a rundown of the Suicide Squad. They have a rotating cast. There isn't necessarily a set team normally. It's just whoever they happen to have trapped at, what's the name of the prison? Bellevue Institute? Bellevue?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
we're going to argue about how to pronounce the name, probably.
Here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah, Bellevue. Or Revo. Depends, I guess, on your pronunciation.
let's go ahead and get into the nitty and the gritty of it all. So let's do this, guys. This was a very, very strange movie, and I'm not talking about the content or the movie itself, just in how the critics versus the fans' reactions were taken. Yeah, it's really weird.
I agree, but not all the fans agree that it was like all the critics, the Rotten Tomatoes, and all that ranked it really, really bad.
Yes.
But then there was another side where some fans, I'm not going to say all, because there's at least one person on this podcast right now that would disagree with me, that actually liked it.
So when this movie, the early reviews came out, and this was only critics. This was basically, the paid critics that'll give you the early reviews, and they put them on the posters, and they did not like this movie at all. I think it was like at 30% rotten or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it was being touted as being like offensively bad. Like it was a terrible movie. It was a steaming pile of poop.
Oh, poop.
That, for me, man, personally, that brought my expectations down to zero. I thought it was going to be, pretty bad, because there were a lot of controversies in during the production. The director, David Ayer, was under a ton of pressure to give the studio a movie that would rival the MCU. What happened with Deadpool, and I think the success of Captain America: Civil War and Deadpool, and the poor reception of Batman vs. Superman really put even more pressure on the director, and there was a bunch of rewrites, there was a bunch of re-edits. This movie kind of set itself up to be perceived pretty bad. Fast forward to the movie coming out, and the fans' reaction was not as bad as the critics' reaction. Did really well in the box office. People seemed to actually kind of enjoy it. I know I, for one, I wasn't blown away by it by any means. I didn't think it was a great movie. This wasn't an MCU quality or a Deadpool, style movie by any means. But it wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst movie, I'd ever seen in my life, and it wasn't offensive. It wasn't great, but kind of in the middle a little bit.
If you rule out MCU and you take all the other movies by Fox and whoever else, to me this was better than anything non-MCU that's been generated as a superhero movie. I liked it better than X-Men Apocalypse. Considerably more better. Really? I thought it had way more heart than X-Men Apocalypse.
This movie had a lot of heart. I was surprised by it, man. There was a lot of love in this movie.
Yeah,
and I'm not necessarily saying
Joker, Harley Quinn.
Joker and Harley Quinn, but there was the whole Deadshot story with his daughter, which I think was really well done, and then Diablo and his family and what he did, and there was a lot of heartstrings being tugged at in this movie, which I was a little surprised about.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, to me, this movie at least had more character development, I feel like, than the X-Men Apocalypse did. Because X-Men Apocalypse, they're like, here's Jean Grey, here's Scott, here's Havoc. Oh, we killed Havoc. Here's a couple other people. There's Apocalypse, there's Storm. And they just throw characters at you, assuming you're going to know everything about these characters.
That's true.
Whereas I felt like, at least Suicide Squad, they're like, here's freaking Deadshot. Cut to this person. Go back to Deadshot. Here's a little bit of his backstory. So it was kind of jarring at times because there are kind of so many characters. But I thought at least they were giving us a backstory. They're not assuming that the fans watching it are going to go, oh, Deadshot, I already know his whole backstory.
You know what I mean? Yeah, what's a bummer too is a bunch of the Croc's backstory. The Killer Croc had a bunch of backstory that got cut.
Yeah,
and
clearly.
I after I watch a movie, I'll go into the trivias and the Easter eggs and stuff, and a lot of Killer Croc's backstory got cut out, and he just sort of ended up being a character that's he's a crocodile and he kills people and he eats people and that's what he does, shoulder shrug, you know what I mean? But he did have a more fleshed out backstory. He grows up and he's ostracized and picked on for his appearance, and he grows up, obviously with a really hard life, and is a bodyguard for a bunch of mobsters. He fights with Batman quite a bit, and I guess Batman kind of captures him and puts him in the Belle Revaux,
however you pronounce it.
So that's a bummer because it seemed like the other characters did get, for the most part, pretty decent background checked, except Killer Croc's kind of got cut out a little bit.
Maybe we'll get an Ultimate Edition like Batman vs Superman.
Right. This is what you should have seen. So critics didn't like it. Fans thought it was okay, and it got really weird to the point where they were there was a petition to shut down Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes, yeah.
Which is
people.
And then there was the guy who wanted to sue because there were scenes of the Joker in the previews that weren't in the movie, which of course I was trying to remember the previews, and I don't remember stuff that was in the previews that wasn't in the movie.
It's probably like a 2-second scene that this dude is pissed off that he didn't see. It's probably a guy that has a man crush on Jared Leto and was like, I didn't get enough to.
That he listed all the scenes that were in the previews or the trailers or whatever. That I mean, it's like, dude, kidding me, really? You're gonna try to sue because of that? But he did have to drive like 300 miles or something to the nearest movie theater to watch the movie.
That's his own fault.
That's his own fault. Location, location, location.
All right, so let's do this, guys. Let's start off because we can easily bash this movie, and
I wouldn't, but carry on.
Let's start off with the stuff that we did like. Let's go ahead and let our guest go first. What did you enjoy about this movie,
if anything?
Actually, there were parts that I enjoyed, and I can't say that I entirely hate the movie. I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. So I'm kind of like in that middle. You have to take a grain of salt with what you read in the comic and what they put in the movies. There's just, for me, there was a lot that was wrong with it. What I did like is I liked Katana. She was probably one of my favorite characters, even though you didn't get a lot out of her. She seemed to me to be like the truest to that. I liked Diablo's character. Amanda Waller wasn't too bad, but after watching Arrow, I think I liked the actress that played her better on Arrow than I did the actress that they cast for her.
Well, yeah, that's going to happen. It's the same thing with Flash. But
yeah.
But we're talking about what we like. Sorry, carry on.
There were times that I laughed at some of the one-liners and stuff, and the storyline wasn't too bad. Like I said, it had its good points. So we're talking about the good stuff, so I'll leave it at that.
Quick. What about you, Tom? Because I know we kind of went into this movie with very low expectations. We weren't expecting a whole lot from the movie. I think that worked. I think that was a good strategy. What was surprising to you that you actually enjoyed about it?
What was surprising to me is that I liked 95% of the movie. So when I went and saw Batman vs Superman, how do I say? I was kind of like disappointed. Like you have DC's two best characters. How can you possibly mess up this movie?
How can you?
Yeah, and I feel like they did. And so when I went and saw Suicide Squad, my expectations were lower. I was like, well, now they just have a bunch of, for the most part, other than Harley Quinn, a bunch of nobodies really. Joker's in there, but he's not in there a lot. So I went in, yes, not expecting much. I was like, I just want to come out of this and at least be entertained. And I was actually, when the credits rolled up, I was like, holy I liked about 95% of that movie. The only things I did not like were the Sorceress. Her whole storyline to me was off. I don't know. I just didn't feel it. And then Joker. And it's not that he was a bad Joker. It's just at times he was so over the top. I needed subtitles to hear what he was saying. Overall, I was actually really surprised how much I liked the movie. I really, really, really liked it.
So you're dealing with a hardcore comic book nerd when you ask him what you like about the movie and he still tells you what he didn't like about the movie.
You're like, I liked about 95% of it. What I didn't like, though.
I don't listen to instruction very well. Clearly.
No, not at all.
Okay, so I went into this movie again expecting it to be, cut and edited and to hell. I wasn't expecting much. I'll talk about that, the pacing and the editing and all that later. But
what we don't like.
Yeah. What was surprising to me is Deadshot. I think Deadshot's story was very cool. I'm not a huge fan of Will Smith. He's one of those actors that it's always Will Smith playing Will Smith. You know what I mean? It's hard to separate the actor from the role. And for Deadshot, he really had toned it down where I really felt like this dude is really a friggin' super assassin who is trying to do right by his daughter and wants to see his daughter. I felt that, right? Even when he's like, interacts with, when he gets caught by Batman and everything. And it's like those scenes were really well done. And Will Smith did a great job as Deadshot, which I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, yeah. I know, Tom, you were looking forward to seeing Deadshot in this movie and you're a fan of Deadshot. But I was in it for Harley Quinn and Joker, to be completely, totally, maybe Captain Boomerang I thought would have been pretty cool. But I came out as being as a bigger fan of Deadshot, then he's probably my favorite character out of all of them.
Because he's awesome.
Yeah, no, he was cool.
Deadshot is amazing. I don't know how I feel about Will Smith's role as Deadshot, but
I thought he did great. I thought the actors in the movie did fairly well, with the exception of the Enchantress. Let's not get into what I didn't like. But I thought Diablo was pretty cool. I thought the actor that played him did a really good job, and his backstory was also awesome. I liked the storyline between Harley and the Joker. There was a lot of emotion in this movie, which I completely was not expecting. I did love the Batman chasing Joker and Harley scene, though. That was pretty awesome.
That was awesome, and that's something that I actually really liked, is that I don't think the trailers did Harley Quinn justice. Because in the trailers, they show, she's putting on her shirt, not everyone stops, and they show the booty scene, whatever. And that, other than her dancing in that bar, that's pretty much all the quote-unquote sexualized you really see out of Harley Quinn. The rest of it is her actually being kind of bat crazy.
Kind of crazy. I really hope they do a good Harley Quinn origin movie or something where they kind of capitalize a little more, because that wasn't enough. I wanted to see the Harleen Quinzel, the therapist, meeting the Joker. I wanted more of that. And then they had the cool cutscenes, right, where they did the classic Alex Ross
that was
Joker and Harley Quinn.
Well done.
Dude, that was a fist pump for me, man. Totally unexpected. And I was like, yay, that was cool.
And it wasn't very long, but for everyone who recognized the scene, everyone was like, yes,
yep.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that for me, I think that was it. The characters were really well done. And Thomas and I kind of had our reservations a little bit. We thought there might be too many characters. Yeah, how could they touch on everybody? But I think they did a fairly decent job. I do like also that they did really well to tie in the movie into the DC movie universe. They did mention the events that happened in Batman vs. Superman, and then Man of Steel. Well, and of course, Ben Affleck does his cameos as Batman. Yeah, which were awesome. Before we get into the stuff that we didn't like, let's talk about something really quick here. So there was a cameo by The Flash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure did. What do you think about Ezra Miller as the Flash dude?
No, sir. I didn't like it.
I don't think I like the costume.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, where it looks like the costume is too big on him and it's really dark. I don't understand why. I don't understand why they didn't cast the CW version of the Flash, who we already have, who everyone loves. And then why, if you're not going to use him, why not at least use that same costume design? It's so many people watch that show. It'd be easy to recognize. I mean, why'd you tone it so dark? I don't know.
It looked like he was playing dress up in like his older brother's costume or something. It was very ill-fitted.
Like even Maiko and I, who don't even know how to tailor like you do, were like, did it look like the costume was too big? So even like clueless people like he and I recognize that the costume did not fit him. And of course, naturally, you're going to spot that as well.
Yeah, they really should have kept Grant Gustin as the Flash. They huge misstep. I was relieved to see the trailer that recently came out, or the teaser for the Justice League, where we see Ezra Miller a little bit kind of talk and act. But in that trailer, he's very quirky. He's very funny. He's a little goofy. I mean, so it looks like at least Barry Allen in the DC movie universe is not going to be hopefully dark and gritty like Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. So at least that kind of gave me a little bit of relief. But they got to do something about that stupid armored costume.
Yes.
It does not. It looks like a bad version of like an Injustice costume.
It looks like if I tried to cosplay the Flash and I sewed the costume myself instead of asking someone like Colleen to put it together. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, but you were a fan of Iron Man, so like you wanted to do an Iron Man version.
Push it out. Well, it's mostly to hide my gut. That's why I would make it.
Give it
This is my Superman Buster version of the Flash.
Yeah.
Like the Hulk Buster.
Yeah, suit was not aerodynamic at all.
Oh, that was another tie-in to the DC movie universe. Was there an Aquaman reference? I don't remember.
No, unless it was.
There was at the end when he's flipping through the book.
What was the deal in that? Is that still just?
It's setting up Justice League. Batman pulling the team together.
But didn't he already have the files from Lex Luthor, or is he just pulling more information?
There was other people I didn't recognize. I think the first or second person that he flipped through. I don't know who it was. I didn't catch the name.
The first one was the Enchantress.
First one was the Enchantress. I didn't recognize the second one, and then the third one was Aquaman.
I was like, why is he pulling the same data that he already found from Lex Luthor?
Well, maybe Lex Luthor only had like that little animated GIF.
That was it. That's all he had.
He just made their logos. Didn't actually have any info on them.
But from an audience standpoint, though, right? It was like he has the same information he had in the last movie. There was nothing. The audience he didn't give anything new to the audience.
No, but maybe it's the type of information that Amanda Waller has.
Yeah, but that's not good stinger material.
I didn't say it was. I'm just saying maybe that's what it was.
That's stupid stinger material. It would have been cooler if Amanda Waller had some stuff on like Darkseid or something. You know what I mean? It would have been like, oh, confirmed. Oh, you know.
Yeah, like a threat is coming.
Yes, exactly. Talk about stuff we didn't like.
I think you're already there.
Yeah, I think I'm already there. I didn't like the stinger.
Let's start from the end of the movie and work back.
All right, so let's get this out of the way. The Joker and Harley Quinn.
I hated the Joker.
What? Really?
I hated Jared Leto as the Joker.
What is it that stuck out that made you dislike him? Just out of curiosity. Not that I'm disagreeing.
Well, first off...
Could you be more specific?
Everything. I mean, first off, how he was dressed and just his character itself. It was very tacky. It was, of course, his speech. He was nothing to look at.
All those tattoos.
Yeah, that was hideous.
I think they would have done a lot better without the tattoos. The tattoos were a little...
The grill bugged me to no end.
Really?
That I agree with.
The grill bugged me. His speaking, like Thomas said, he had a hard time understanding him at a lot of times.
Trying to be way over the top.
He was very way over the top, but to me, he didn't embody the Joker as in having those jokes. You know, is he going to kill you or is he not going to kill you? It's like, you know, he's going to pull a gun on you and suddenly you have a flag that pops out that says bang, but the next time it could be, you know, you've got a bullet between the eyes kind of thing. He didn't embody that character of the Joker.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Yeah, he did not. This dude was like all serious.
And just the way he portrayed the whole character, his method acting for the character, it was just, to me, it was an all around. It was, to me, I hated the character.
Tom?
So I hated about 95% of the time that the Joker was on the screen. So the thing is, so when he talked normal, I actually thought he did okay. So the thing where he was asking Harley Quinn, would you die for me? No, wait, a better question is, would you live for me? And then they do the whole that thing. I actually liked that part of the Joker. Like, because he was talking normal, but he looked crazy and he sounded crazy. But when he tried to be the over-the-top, I'm in the back of a jet and I'm yelling and screaming and doing weird stuff, that Joker just did not appeal to me. What I was thinking, though, is for this movie, you couldn't really go with a classic Joker look. I don't think you could put him in, like, a purple costume and be taken seriously.
No,
but you still could have done something that looked like he just crawled up from a night of drinking kind of thing.
But that's why I think he had the tattoos. It was because if him just white and shirtless would just look odd. So if you slap some tattoos on him, then he looks a little bit crazier.
I think they would have been better served to keep the tattoos, to keep him without the tattoos. I don't like the face tattoos.
No, I agree. Like the face tattoos, I didn't like because then it looked too much like he was trying to be like a gangbanger, basically. And with the grill, all of that did not work.
Yeah, that girl just was so annoying, and
I agree.
But his makeup in itself, just that, I don't know, it just wasn't well put together.
I was okay with the Joker. It did take a little bit of getting used to, but you hit the nail on the head where this Joker was not a joking around Joker. Let me show you a magic trick. Where does he get those wonderful toys? There was none of that. But in that sense, though, like I was okay with that. I was okay with the look. The grills didn't really bother me that much. The face tattoos were kind of
not bother you. The face tattoo bothered you, but not the grill.
Yeah, I guess.
So
I mean, it could have gone either way. You know what really sold me on this Joker is like so he doesn't have the silly cartoonish side to him in this one, but his other side is a soft side. It's like he has this infatuation and this love for Harley Quinn. I honestly think this character is really in love with Harley Quinn. It really is a love sort of sick relationship. Sid and Nancy, sort of a weird sort of relationship, and I like that. That kind of is a little bit of endearing for this Joker. I thought it was pretty cool. That's what brought me around on him being like, yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, see, for me, like every time I looked at him, like I knew he wasn't gonna obviously have the purple because that's too colorful, too playful, and I didn't think they were gonna do like a darker purple because then it's gonna be too much like Heath Ledger. When they did the whole shirtless thing and I saw the tattoos on his chest, I was like, okay, so that's what they're gonna do. But then I saw the grill, which I was like, what is the purpose of the grill and the face tattoos? Like, so the body tattoos, I saw the purpose. That was his costume.
Yeah.
But I could not understand the face tattoos or the grill, especially the grill.
And I'm not gonna say that I like the grill. I'm not gonna say that like, yeah, dude, it didn't bother me, but yeah, you lose the grill and the face tattoos. It was a little unnecessary, you know?
Those are the two things in my head when I was thinking about his tattoos as a costume, that I couldn't find a purpose for the grill. Because when I think of the Joker, I always think of that big wide smile, you know what I mean? And that smile has never had a freaking grill on any version of the Joker. And maybe that's her goal. We want to create something completely different than any other Joker, so it's not compared. But the grill was unneeded.
I did like how he used the like his smiley face tattoo on his hand. So he like reaches out and it looks like he's gonna choke them, but he puts a smile on their face, and I was like, that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. But I thought that his relationship with Harley Quinn was pretty well done. Definitely not like traditional, because in the old animated series and in the comics, Harley Quinn is completely head over heels in love with the Joker, and the Joker just dismisses her, right? And in this one, it seems like it's sort of a mutual love with the two.
Because in the animated series and the comics and stuff, he was very abusive to her. Not physically abusive, but mentally and emotionally.
Oh, he was physically abusive too. He would throw her around.
Yeah, he threw her around.
Yeah. I mean, the emotional was more of that, that main point of that. She's very codependent on him, she was very, never thought that he could do anything wrong and was very in love with.
Exactly. And in this version of them, this is definitely not that version. This is a version where they're both completely obsessed with each other.
Yeah, I think they're obsessed with each other and just the idea of chaos.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of Harley Quinn? We talked about the Joker. What about Harley Quinn?
Go ahead.
That was a hot topic before the movie came out.
Yeah, that's where she looked like she got her clothes from too.
Nicely done.
See what I did there? Well, first and foremost, you guys already know my thoughts on that. I hated the costume. Hated it.
Why?
It was tacky. It was very trashy. It was not.
It wasn't classy.
It wasn't classy. I mean, even from her stuff in the Suicide comic and her solo series and even like Arkham Asylum and all that, the costume was still very put together very well.
Like the corset?
Yeah, I mean, she wears like hot shorts and roller skates.
And and the problem on top of that is they went in and they altered her shorts in post-production to make them shorter.
Really?
Yes. They went in and come to find out, Margot Robbie hated wearing the costume. She hated the costume. To me, it didn't speak Harley. I think there's so many different ways that they could have done her costume that still would have made her be, the embodiment of Harley and still, appealed to the crowd that wanted to see a, more sexualized version.
But let's be honest here. They've been sexualizing Harley since way before the movie. I mean, even even in her own series, in the Suicide Squad, in the video game series. I mean, she literally wears a corset with her pushed up to her chin. Either if it's not a tiny miniskirt with her hanging out, it's basically the shorts that Margot Robbie wears in the movie.
I would have liked to see more character development. She's a psychologist, for Christ's sake. She's so she thinks things out. She's very articulate. I didn't get a lot of that in the movie.
Well, I think part of that is even in Suicide Squad and stuff, like she was a psychologist, but Joker her up so bad that she doesn't have sane thoughts anymore. It's like a person who's a doctor who gets schizophrenia. They may be a doctor, but once they have schizophrenia, they're no longer that doctor. They're just this crazy psychotic person.
But I would have liked to have seen more from her as a character. I don't think there was a lot of depth to her character.
I don't know if I agree with you on that. I thought Harley Quinn was, I mean, besides Deadshot, the most sort of explored character out of all the other ones.
I think a lot of her character reminded me of her in her solo series, and I don't like her solo series.
Hey, she did not have a talking beaver or like 600 pets.
No, not yet. What I did like is I like when they were all going through their chests, and they were pulling out the things that were like personal items. She pulled up her original outfit, but of course the problem I had with that is it was a sequin jester suit, which twitched me as a costumer. I mean, that looks like something you wear ice skating. And then her mallet, she is such an over the top character and so crazy. That mallet to me was very just.
It wasn't gigantic enough.
No, I don't think it was.
I like that they kind of played her as completely psycho, like Thomas said, bat crazy character, and you can never tell where her mind was going. She went from being sweet one moment to funny the next to we're villains in the next
scene was horrible.
Which scene?
The scene where she breaks the window and grabs the purse.
I like that.
I didn't.
I like that because then she turns around and she goes, "What? We're villains."
Yeah, we're bad guys.
Yeah, I don't know. It just bothered me.
Why?
We're all gonna have to
want her to steal the purse.
You felt that.
I don't know. I thought it was out of place.
Really? I thought that was very much in place and in character. There was another character that kind of thought about doing the same thing and then went against it. Right after that.
But then Deadshot was looking at the window at the coat.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the coat reminded him of his daughter because it was very similar to the coat she was wearing when he was arrested.
And then to the scene where she's pouring drinks for the team and kind of brings them together in the bar at the towards the end of the movie. I thought that was really well done. I mean, Harley's range was definitely well done in my opinion. She covered all the bases that she was supposed to cover.
I mean, she had a few moments, but overall, I would have liked to have seen more from the character.
You'd like to see a few more moments?
Yeah.
I think the problem is you have to juggle all those characters that are in the movie. And to me, it seemed like Deadshot, I think, got probably the most, followed by Harley Quinn, and then followed by Diablo.
They could have given Captain Boomerang a little more screen time because he was a really cool character.
I didn't like his character.
See, I liked him.
I found him annoying. To me, he was very much a non-entity. I could have done without him.
The movie. That's my problem. Is I wish we could have had more of him because he was funny. He was cool. He was a scumbag. That's what Captain Boomerang is. He's a total scumbag.
He's a drunk scumbag.
Yeah, I don't know. There's this something about his character. I couldn't get into his character.
The non-entity character was Slipknot.
Yeah.
That dude was
you didn't even have enough. You didn't have enough of him in the movie to even get anything out of his character.
And I love it every time the Suicide Squad is introduced, whether it's an animated or in the animated feature or in like Arrow, there's always one character that's going to get their head blown off.
Yes, who has to die.
Just to show the audience that, like, yes, these are really explosive implants in their necks. This isn't like some sort of a trick. Like, this is serious. And I knew as soon as him and Captain Boomerang were talking about escaping, I was like, one of these dudes is going.
Yeah.
I was
so glad it was Slipknot. Well, as soon as I guess I don't know Slipknot very well. I don't
either.
Who the heck he is? And as soon as they were like, "What's his power? He can scale any building." I was like, "He's probably going to be the one that dies."
Yeah.
This is stupid power. What's his power? He has a very explosive head.
You only do that once.
Yeah,
really bad migraines.
Yeah, he's really bad at migraines. So we can all agree that Harley Quinn was awesome then.
No.
Okay, so we can all agree that Deadshot was pretty cool. Was okay. Right? We can't agree.
What?
He was awesome. Deadshot was awesome.
He wasn't bad. I just
even Rex or Kona disagrees.
That was Rex. I thought that they needed to, well, like Michael said, with being Will Smith, he didn't, to me, embody enough of having the symptoms of like being somebody with PTSD. I mean, the backstory was great, his love for his daughter and everything like that. I mean, that was a great story. I just didn't get a good feel for him in the role. I mean, not that he didn't do a bad job. I just didn't see him as Deadshot.
Wow, that's good. interesting because I was blown away by Will Smith's Deadshot. And like I said, I'm not a fan of Will Smith, but that was my main concern about like Will Smith being in the movie was that it was going to be a because you can't throw Will Smith in a movie and then him be a side character, you know? So I was wondering like, okay, I thought this was going to be a Harley Quinn movie originally, but then they announced the Joker was going to be in it, so I thought for sure it was going to be a Harley Quinn Joker movie, and then they announced Will Smith was going to be in it, and it was like, how are they going to do that? And I think they balanced it very well. And of course, Deadshot was pretty good, pretty darn good actually. Actually, let's get into a character that I was pleasantly surprised in. And I didn't think he was going to be this good when I saw him in the, in the kind of the character lineup before the movie came out was Diablo. I thought Diablo was actually a pretty dope character.
I really liked Diablo.
Yeah, I think that's universal. At least we all agree that Diablo was actually a well done character.
Yeah.
It was, and even his sacrifice at the end was,
That bugged me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole sacrifice thing, but how they went about it. So he turns into like, so that scene was sort of like the Ant-Man going Giant Man scene in Civil War, where it was like, I got a trick up my sleeve. Watch this. You want to see me burn? I'll burn. And then he turns into this big, like Aztec fire god, and I was like, oh, cool. That's really, it was totally unexpected. That's what he's been.
That was awesome.
That's why he does. Yeah, that's why he doesn't want to like flame on, because this dude's like inside him, right? And then he gets wrestled to the ground. You know what I mean? And he gets pinned, and I was like, "That's okay." So they're fighting, and then they get him to the charge, and then they blow the brother up with the dynamite or the charge or whatever. And it's like, dude, Diablo didn't even kill him. He just kind of like got his kicked near the explosive. Like he dragged the fight to the explosive.
What I thought would have been cool is when he changed into this Aztec fire god thing. If he would have had these two ancient beings going against each other.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean? It should have been him going up against Enchantress with the rest of Suicide Squad doing what they can to help basically push her into that portal and close it. And then, maybe him sacrifice himself by grabbing her and, falling in with her, and then they close it that way. I don't know why that didn't happen.
This was totally Magneto, like you said, friggin' balancing metal, spinning it around the earth forever for no reason, and it just all kind of drops at the end. Like, why? What were you doing?
What I thought was really weird is, like when Amanda Waller first introduces Enchantress, she's like, she's more powerful than anything, da 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 da, blah blah blah. She's so powerful. I'm gonna on and on about how powerful she is. But then when it comes to the Enchantress making her big move, all she does is summon up metal and spins it around the city for like a week. Why is this ancient, powerful, magical being need technology? Why couldn't she just do it with sorcery? Like, why didn't she just open a portal and start summoning demons? Like I said, I loved the whole movie except for the villain. The villains, both Enchantress and her stupid destroyer-looking brother.
Yeah, his character was very blah. Just there was nothing to it.
There was no reason for him to be in the movie.
No.
All he did was like zap metal.
They should have summoned him, and he should have been like the holy moment, and then Diablo would have done his thing. You know what I mean? Like, that should have been a nice big reveal.
It was like an afterthought.
To me, I felt like his introduction weakened the sorceress's power. Why does she need that brother? I mean, there was no reason in the story to have that brother. They should have focused on how powerful she was, because that's all Amanda Waller talked about, was how powerful she is. And she's like, oh, well, I can't do it without you, brother.
Exactly. She should have treated him like he was disposable. Like, okay, you guys are coming after me. Here, let me introduce you to my brother. Boom. And then he comes up, and it's like, oh.
I don't even think they should have had him at all.
Yeah, he didn't add anything to the story, really.
No.
He didn't add anything, and as a matter of fact, to me, he made it worse.
My gripe, and this was just me kind of like projecting what I thought the movie was going to be, but I honestly thought that Joker was going to be the main antagonist of the movie. And I really felt that they would have done a lot better
if
it would have been the Suicide Squad being brought together to take down the Joker and his gang. The Joker was super cool, in my opinion anyways, but he didn't bring anything to the movie besides him and Harley's love story. That was it. He was inconsequential to the plot of the movie.
Then the thing is even though, reading the New 52 version of the Suicide Squad is really the only thing you get from the Joker is Harley's origin story. And that I had a really big problem with them bringing him in and having him as a continual character still being alive.
In the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they're going to, I mean, you can't expect them to do, especially anything, New 52. I mean, New 52 even in the comics is they're done with that. So they're not going to have a dead Joker in this new movie verse. They're going to bring they're going to milk the crap out of the Joker.
Yeah, well, they probably should have left him dead though.
Well, even in New 52, he came back.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah. Well,
because
nobody
he
ever
did.
truly did. So.
Yeah, because he did that whole Death in the Family or whatever that thing was called. I can't remember in the New 52, where he went after all the Robins.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Made him sit down and tried to kill one.
It's just really weird that they went up against a god that's opening dimensional portals, and just like the whole balance of the world it's like this movie would have been better served to be like more of a sort of a smaller storyline.
Street level.
Not an out of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Save that one for the sequel. So yeah, who do we have left? Who did we not cover? Who have we not talked about yet?
I mean, that's the majority of most of the cast. Because I mean, Killer Croc didn't really have much. Slipknot we already talked about for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Diablo we covered. Deadshot we covered. Harley Quinn we covered. Captain Boomerang we covered.
Tom Hardy would have been great as Rick Flag. I really wish he wouldn't have dropped out to do The Revenant. So I wasn't a fan of Rick Flag in the movie. He seemed he just didn't. He seemed
flat.
like a little flat.
For being a special forces guy, he sure was getting his kicked a lot.
He had to be saved all the time. That was like 3 or 4 times, right? Where he was where Deadshot had to be like, all right, time out, guys. We got to save this dude again.
To be fair, is because the sorceress knew that he knew her weakness, so she kept gunning for him specifically, and they make a point of that. They're like, they keep going after you, and then when you remember he confesses the truth, like, so that's why they kept going after you, you know.
I must have missed that.
That's when they leave and go to the bar. It's right before that. He confesses
they found because they found his paper, right? In Stranger Things, the sheriff.
Oh yeah, dude,
right?
Dude, awesome.
At the beginning of the show, you're like, this dude is a total right? In the first couple episodes, this guy's like,
no spoilers.
Okay, no spoilers. But by the end of the series, you're like, that guy's my hero.
Yeah,
that guy is it. And that's kind of what I felt like. I never got that sort of like
that redemption.
The redemption, where at the beginning you're like, dude, this guy's a real jerk. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, yeah, I know where he's coming from. He has heart. Like, I never got that. He's just kind of like, yeah, he's still kind of a at the end. I don't like him one bit. And I think that just about
Katana.
I do like that they kept the soul sword and they didn't dismiss it.
Yes.
Because I know in the Arrowverse they don't do the soul sword. They just she's just a badass.
Which is stupid because in Arrow they have all this magic. It's the perfect place to talk about it.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, though, she does like say something like she needs another soul for her sword when she's fighting the brother. Yeah. So in my last gripe of this movie was that the editing and the pacing and the writing, it was a bit choppy, like Batman versus Superman, where it's like a lot of scenes felt a little like jarring, a lot of scene splicing, and the pacing to me seemed a little off.
Yeah. To me, the overall tone of it was too touchy-feely. The characters themselves, their interactions, and
really.
Yeah, I thought so.
I thought it was okay. That was actually one of the things I liked. It was that it was a little surprising. Sort of reminiscent to like Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit.
I'd like to point out it's kind of funny that the two guys are okay with the touchy-feely and the woman is not. She's like, no, too much touchy-feely.
For me, that's not abnormal though.
Colleen, if you were to rate this movie out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
2.5.
2.5. 2.5 out of 5.
Like I said, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it.
Tom, out of 5 batarangs, what would you give it?
I would give it 4 to 4.5 batarangs.
4 to 4? Wow, really?
Oh, he gets batarangs and I get stars? What's up with that?
I couldn't think of anything when I brought it.
I'm a man.
You could have said diamonds. I mean,
I could have said a lot of things. Okay, we'll do it over then. Okay.
There we go. Pretend it never happened.
Right. Okay. So, out of 5 sequin jumpsuits, how many sequin jumpsuits would you give?
Well, after we rip all the sequins off, I'd still give it 2.
With that idea.
Joe, Colleen, from 1 to 5 facial tattoos, how many facial tattoos would you give this movie?
Harleys or Jokers?
Killer Crocs.
Oh, okay. 2.5, 3.
2.5 to 3. Scales. Oh, on a scale of how many scales?
That's funny. You said Killer Croc and he has scales on his face.
I know, it is.
All right, Thomas. Out of 1 to 5 boomerangs, how many exploding boomerangs would you give this?
I would give it 4 to 4.5 boomerangs.
4 to 4.5 boomerangs.
Yeah. Like I said, the only thing I didn't really like was the Enchantress. Really hated the Sorceress.
The actress was really weird.
The
Yeah.
actress was weird. The costuming was horrific. Actually, you know what? She reminded me of one of that character from The Girl from the Ring.
It's good that you bring up The Ring. A big thing in like horror movies is when they try to show something freaky, they show like that person kind of moving in like a weird, twitching gesture where they cut frames to give that weird appearance that they're
The
moving.
disjointed moving, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what Maiko and I kind of talked about before, is that it looks like the actress was doing like the movements and they just forgot to cut the movements to give it that weird appearance. So instead,
They just left her hanging.
like a weird dance. Like when she
Yes.
was talking, she was doing like these weird like gestures, and I'm like, I feel like they should be cutting frames out of this to give it that weird, her body's kind of shifting in a weird position. But
Yeah.
they just left it. And I'm like, it just looks like she's having a seizure.
Yeah, and also Thomas does it really well. He can do it. He can do it. When Thomas and I were talking about it at work, he started doing it, and I was like, "That's it.
That's it. And you're making me feel creepy.
Yeah." When I was watching the movie at the theater, and I saw her doing that weird dance, I felt awkward. I would say from 1 to 5 Pandamen, I would have to give this movie 3 Pandamen. I honestly thought it was going to get 0 Pandamen from me. I'm pleasantly surprised with 3, and I did like it. It had a lot of problems. The writing was choppy, the editing was choppy, but it wasn't terrible.
Oh yeah, it definitely wasn't that bad. Like I said, it was one of those, I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. But overall, it wasn't a great movie.
I'll just disagree with you, bro.
Yeah, it's fine. You're entitled to. We still love you.
All right, you guys. Well, there you have it. Well, thank you guys once again for listening. Thank you, Thomas, for listening. Thank you, Colleen, for listening. And thank you to my mom for listening. The typically our only listeners. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for joining us. And until next time, peace.
Peace.
Take care.
All right.
All right, I will talk to you guys later.
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right. Love you both.
Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Relief Podcast.
We'll hope you join us next time as we continue to discuss all things comic book related.
And until then, make mine Marvel
And DC.
and independent. Don't forget to check us out at comicreliefpodcast.com, or you can visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Comic Relief Podcast, or go to our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Comic Relief Podcast. And finally, there is our Twitter page, which is twitter.com/Comic Relief PODC. I'd like to give a special shout out to Travis Richards, who did the music for the Comic Relief Podcast. Visit his website at www.travisarichards.com.
Hiya, Puddin'. This is Colleen from the Comic Relief Podcast.
She's already claiming to be in the Comic Relief Podcast. She's like, I'm in it.
Yeah, this is gonna be great for the outtakes.
Outtake one.
Dude, that was pretty good. Even the laugh was like spot on. Can you do the Jared Leto Joker laugh, dude? That was pretty good. Are you at your computer, Tom?
I am.
Totally, obviously, the stupidest question.
Right. There's an outtake.
He's just hardwired into his head.
Right? Let's go ahead and just cover what the Suicide Squad is, like, you know, from the comics and stuff, real quick. I mean, do you want to get into the Silver Age stuff?
No.
Yeah, we can just touch on it. Let's get the IMDb pages up to the cast and crew of Suicide Squad, because there's a lot of them, and I can see Thomas going, yeah, you know, that guy from that thing that played the guy with the face, Jared Leto, yeah. It's really weird for me to say, but
When you're typing, it's really loud.
super loud.
Sorry.
Me?
Yeah. No. Yes, you.
To quote Mr. Horse, no, sir. I don't think I like it.
Sir.
I mean, even just the size of the head of the mallet, you know, could have been a little bit longer and bigger around.
Hey, it's not the size that matters, but it's how you use it.
I'm still with my 2.5. 2.5, 3. I'll give it that.
That one
2.5.
shower?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Are you like watering the garden or
No,
watering?
Tom was rinsing a plate off in the sink.
And it's a wrap.
Yeah, good job, you guys. I liked it.